The year is 1864. The war has ravaged the South, leaving plantations abandoned, fields scorched, and the old order crumbling into dust. Union soldiers march through Georgia, their boots heavy on roads lined with skeletal trees. They've seen horrors, battlefields soaked in blood, towns reduced to ash. But nothing can prepare them for what they're about to find at Thornhill Plantation. The house stands at the end of a long, winding drive, once grand, now decaying. The columns are cracked, the paint peeling. Vines crawl up the walls like grasping fingers. The air smells of rot and smoke. The soldiers approach cautiously, rifles raised. The front door hangs open, creaking in the wind. Inside, the silence is suffocating. They move through empty halls. Dust swirls in the pale light. Furniture overturned. Painting slashed. It looks like everyone fled in a panic. But then, one soldier hears something. A sound from below. A faint scratching. A muffled cry. The basement door is locked from the outside. Heavy iron bolts. The soldiers break it open, and the stench hits them first. Unwashed bodies, sickness, fear. They descend into darkness, lanterns held high. And that's when they see them 23 children, huddled together in the shadows, ages ranging from infants to teenagers. Pale skin, hollow eyes, and every single one of them has the same unsettling feature. Piercing green eyes that glow in the lantern light, like emeralds in a tomb. The soldiers freeze. The children stare back, silent, unmoving. No one speaks. No one knows what to say, because this isn't a slave quarter. This isn't a hiding place. This is something else entirely. Something deliberate. Something wrong. Point one of the soldiers whispers a question that will haunt the region for generations. Who locked them here? And why do they all look the same? The answer lies buried in the past, in the mind of a woman named Catherine Thornhill. A woman who built an empire of silence. A woman who believed she could control life itself. And to understand what happened in that basement, we have to go back. Back to where it all began 17 years earlier. 1847. Catherine Ashford Thornhill stands in the parlor of her late husband's estate, surrounded by men in dark suits, creditors, lawyers, vultures circling a dying estate. Her husband, Charles Thornhill, has been dead 6 months. The funeral was lavish, the mourning expected. But now the bills have come due. Catherine is 28 years old, beautiful, intelligent, educated in Charleston's finest finishing schools. She speaks 3 languages, plays piano, knows poetry by heart. But none of that matters now, because she's a widow in the antebellum South, and widows have no power. The state is drowning in debt. The creditors want the land. They want the house. They want everything. She listens to them in silence, her face a mask of composure. They offer her a way out, sell the plantation, take a small stipend, move to town, live quietly, become invisible, accept defeat. But Catherine Thornhill has no intention of becoming invisible. When the men leave, she walks through the empty halls of Thornhill Plantation. She counts the enslaved workers still remaining on the property, 53 souls. Her husband had been kind by Southern standards. He fed them well, rarely used a whip, but kindness doesn't pay debts. Labor does. Production does. And Catherine realizes something the creditors don't see. She doesn't need to buy more workers. She just needs to grow her own. The idea comes to her slowly, like a poison seeping into her thoughts. If she could ensure a steady supply of labor, children born on the property, raised to work, completely under her control, she would never be dependent on markets or auctions again. She would be self-sufficient, untouchable, but she doesn't want field hands. She wants something better, something refined, workers who could manage the estate, keep the books, run the operations, an intelligent labor force, her own bloodline, and that's when the plan crystallizes. She will select the strongest, the smartest, the most capable of the enslaved on her land. She will pair them carefully, and she will raise their children not in the quarters, but in the house, educated, trained, bound to her by blood and dependency. It's a breeding program, cold, calculated, monstrous, and Catherine Thornhill begins immediately. The first pairings happen quietly. Catherine chooses a young man named Samuel, tall, literate, sharp-minded. A woman named Abigail, quick with numbers, graceful, intelligent. She brings them to the house. She tells them they've been selected for special duties. They're grateful at first, hopeful, but then Catherine explains the terms. They will live in the house. They will be fed well, clothed well, but they will have children together. And those children will belong to Catherine. Completely, Samuel and Abigail have no choice. They are property. And Catherine makes it clear, obey, or return to the fields. Or worse. The first child is born in 1848. A girl. Catherine names her Eleanor. The baby has her father's dark skin, her mother's delicate features, and Catherine's own green eyes. Wait, that's not possible. Unless... Catherine had been discreet, very discreet, but the truth is undeniable. The child is not just Samuel and Abigail's. Catherine had interfered, altered the parentage, used her own husband's bloodline, or perhaps even her own involvement, to ensure the children would carry a marker, a sign of her control. The green eyes become her signature, her brand, proof that these children are hers in a way that goes beyond law or custom. She repeats the process. Again and again. More pairings, more children. By 1850, there are 6. By 1853, 11. All raised in the main house. All taught to read and write. All trained in estate management. All with the same haunting green eyes. But someone notices. Someone sees what Catherine is doing. Richard Thornhill, Catherine's stepson. Charles's boy from a previous marriage. He's 22 now, studying law in Savannah, but he comes home for holidays, and he sees the children. He hears the whispers from the quarters. He watches his stepmother with growing unease. One night, he searches her study. He finds a leather-bound journal, locked. He breaks the lock. Inside, pages of coded notes. Names, dates, bloodlines, instructions. It reads like a ledger, but it's not tracking crops or livestock. It's tracking people. Richard's hands shake as he reads. He realizes what Catherine has built. This isn't just cruelty. This is something systematic, something planned, something evil. He confronts her the next morning. His voice is low, controlled. "What have you done, Catherine?" She looks at him calmly. Too calmly. "I've saved this estate. Something your father never managed. You're breeding human beings like cattle. I'm ensuring our survival. This is an abomination." Catherine sets down her teacup. Her green eyes are cold. "Richard, you've always been weak, just like your father. You don't understand what it takes to hold power. But don't worry, you won't have to." 3 weeks later, Richard falls ill. A sudden fever, violent coughing. The doctor calls it consumption. Tragic, but not uncommon. He dies within 10 days. The servants whisper. They know the truth. Catherine poisoned him. Arsenic, most likely, mixed into his evening tea. Slow enough to look natural. Fast enough to silence him before he could expose her. At the funeral, Catherine weeps beautifully. The widow mourning her beloved stepson. No one suspects. No one questions. And with Richard gone, there's no one left to challenge her. The Thornhill bloodline is now fully hers. Over the next decade, Catherine's program expands. The children grow. She creates a room on the 3rd floor, locked, windowless, accessible only to her. She calls it the Heritage Room. Inside, she keeps everything. Locks of hair tied with silk ribbons. Detailed charts mapping bloodlines. Photographs of each child at birth. Journals recording their traits, their progress, their potential. It's part archive, part shrine. A monument to her control. The children are educated beyond what any enslaved person in the South would ever experience. They study mathematics, literature, Latin. They learn estate management, accounting, agriculture. Catherine treats them almost like her own children. Almost. But they are never allowed to leave. They are never free. They sleep in rooms on the 2nd floor. Clean rooms. Comfortable rooms. But the doors locked from the outside. By 1860, there are 19 children. The oldest, Eleanor, is 12. She's brilliant, curious, and increasingly aware that something is wrong. She asks questions. Why can't they leave the house? Why do the workers in the quarters look at them with fear? Why does Mother keep that room locked? Catherine's answers are soothing, practiced. The world is dangerous. Darling, you're special. You're protected here. But Eleanor doesn't feel protected. She feels caged. And then, in April 1861, the war begins. The Civil War shatters the South's foundations. Men march off to fight. Plantations fall into disarray. Thornhill is no exception. Catherine's overseers leave to join Confederate regiments. The workers in the quarters grow restless. Whispers of freedom spread like wildfire. Catherine tightens her grip. She keeps the children closer. She enforces stricter discipline. But cracks are forming. The children are older now. They hear the distant sound of cannons. They see Union soldiers passing on the roads. They sense change coming. Eleanor, now 15, begins sneaking into Catherine's study at night. She finds the Heritage Room key hidden in a false panel. One night, while Catherine sleeps, Eleanor unlocks the door. What she finds inside breaks her. The charts, the records, the truth of who she is, who they all are, not Catherine's children, not even fully human in Catherine's eyes. They are experiments, possessions, a bloodline designed for servitude. Eleanor stands in that room, surrounded by the evidence of her mother's monstrosity, and something inside her hardens. She begins telling the others. Quietly, carefully. They don't believe her at first, but she shows them. One by one, she brings them to the Heritage Room, and one by one they understand. Catherine senses a shift. She sees a defiance in their eyes. She knows her control is slipping, and so she makes a decision. If she cannot keep them obedient, she will not let them be free. It's February 1864. Union troops are advancing through Georgia. Thornhill Plantation stands in their path. Catherine knows they're coming. She hears the reports. She sees the smoke on the horizon. She gathers her children in the parlor. All 23 of them now. She smiles serene and cold. We're going on a journey, she says. Somewhere safe. But Eleanor sees a lie. She sees the bottles on the sideboard. Amberglass. Unlabeled. Poison. Catherine plans to kill them. To protect them from the Union soldiers. To ensure her secrets die with them. That night, as Catherine prepares a fatal meal, Eleanor acts. She whispers to the others. They hide the food. They pretend to eat. And when Catherine turns her back, they lock her in the Heritage Room. She screams, pounds on the door, demands obedience. But for the first time, they refuse. The children flee to the basement, terrified, unsure what to do next. They hear Catherine raging above. And then silence. Hours later, the house begins to burn. No one knows who started the fire. Some say it was the workers from the quarters, finally taking revenge. Some say Catherine set herself, a final act of destruction. Some say the Union soldiers torched it as they passed. But when the flames rise, Catherine Thornhill is gone, vanished into the night. Her body is never found. Some say she escaped. Some say she burned with her journals. Some say the enslaved hunted her into the woods and made sure she'd never hurt anyone again. All that remains is ash, and the children, locked in the basement, waiting to be found. The Union soldiers free them. They're taken to a camp, fed, examined. Doctors are baffled by their appearance. Officers file confused reports. The children are separated, sent to different homes, different states. They scatter like seeds in the wind. Some change their names. Some hide their green eyes behind tinted glasses. Some try to forget, but the legacy of Thornhill follows them. Eleanor, the eldest, lives to be 70. She never speaks of her childhood, but in her final days, delirious with fever, she whispers the same words over and over. Mother is still watching. Descendants of the Thornhill bloodline exist today, scattered across the country. Most don't know their origins. But every so often, a child is born with those same piercing green eyes. And those who know the story feel a chill. Because Catherine Thornhill was never just a woman. She was an idea. The belief that people can be controlled, bred, owned. And ideas like that don't die. They linger. They adapt. They find new forms. The Thornhill Plantation is gone. The house is rubble. The land is farmland now. But locals avoid it. They say on certain nights you can still smell smoke. Still hear a woman's voice calling from the ruins. Cruelty always leaves shadows. And some secrets, no matter how deeply buried, refuse to stay silent. The Thornhill bloodline is a reminder that the worst monsters aren't the ones in stories. They're the ones who smile politely, speak softly, and believe they have a right to play God. And they walk among us still.